Picture a dominant capital during its golden age, ruling the Mediterranean. It drew people in, its vibrant energy cleared new arrivals quickly. Distinct languages mixed on every street, diverse crowds shared spaces. This was asterisk Rome in 100 AD, immense, vibrant, yet very costly. Constant noise, brutal inequality, and a permanent sense of grandeur. The city's true origins, however, are far more complex. But even if that specific date is taken as symbolic, Rome's reality emerged through a gradual process. Hillside settlements drew communities closer, which then blended and eventually grew into a unified city. Right from its beginnings, something crucial benefited Rome, the Tiber River. Not just for water, controlling a strategic crossing point was more valuable than a beautiful landscape. Romans explained their origins through myths of twins, she-wolves, and destiny. This myth taught them to view themselves as a city born of conflict, ambition, and survival. And this narrative fit remarkably well with what Rome truly represented. The Cloaca Maxima, a drainage system tradition connects to monarchical Rome, began as a practical solution to drain marshy areas and channel water flow. As the city expanded, so too the temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus on the Capitoline Hill became the paramount religious and political symbol of early Rome. Intricately tied to the city's identity, the downfall of the kings and the birth of the Republic in 509 BCE, Rome transitioned to a system where power was distributed and competed for within clear rules, including consuls, a senate, and assemblies. In the 5th century BCE, Rome secured the 12 Tables, the first major public law code, designed so that legal standards wouldn't rely solely on memory or the power of a select few. However, expansion wasn't sustained by armies alone, but by infrastructure. In 312 BCE, Rome launched two significant projects, including the construction of the Appian Way, one of Rome's major roads, and the Aqua. Coincidence, both were tied to the same political figure that year, Appius Claudius, the censor. Throughout the 4th and 3rd centuries BCE, Rome steadily gained control over Italy, sometimes through warfare, other times by forming alliances, into an effective war machine. More soldiers, more taxes, more routes, more resources, and more ports. This culminated in the Great Clash, the Punic Wars, from 264 to 146 BCE against Carthage, which was the dominant naval superpower of the time. Carthage was finally destroyed in 146 BCE, transforming Rome from an Italian power to a Mediterranean one, and the influx of wealth, slaves, and trade dramatically surged. In essence, Italy served as the springboard, and Carthage was the jump that made it an empire. The city became filled with riches, enslaved people, merchants and veterans awaiting land, and plebeians demanding bread and protection. The outcome was a city prospering externally, but facing internal tensions. During the Republic's final century, the conflict was no longer Rome against external foes. It became Rome against itself. Generals started to wield more power than the Senate. Sulla made this clear with his prescriptions, which were lists of enemies pursued, with all their possessions confiscated. Then Pompey emerged, known for military fame, Crassus with his money, forming the first triumvirate. However, that balance was short-lived. When Caesar famously crossed the Rubicon in 49 BCE, he entered Italy with his army, igniting a devastating civil war. The most symbolic blow came in 44 BCE. Caesar was assassinated. Instead of fixing the system, another round of wars erupted, like the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE. Octavian decisively defeated Mark Antony and Cleopatra. From that moment, no genuine rival remained capable of challenging his authority. Therefore, when the crisis finally ended, the old republic didn't return. Something new emerged. This new era officially began in 20. There, Octavian was granted the title of Augustus, becoming the first Roman emperor. He didn't just govern, he began to redesign the very city. He reorganized Rome into 14 official districts, and he established a more ordered, permanent. Then, in the year 6 CE, he organized the Vigiles, a public corps tasked with night watch and fire suppression, because a wooden megacity with lamps and alleyways couldn't survive without proper fire control. In Imperial Rome, for the vast majority, water didn't flow from a private tap, but from public fountains. Therefore, fetching water was also a daily meeting point for conversations and gossip. People lived quite differently. If you belonged to the elite, you might aim for a spacious, comfortable domus. If not, you ended up in an insula, blocks of apartments, frequently constructed in haste for rental. Moreover, rent worked opposite to the ideal. The best and most expensive units were downstairs, while cheaper ones were upstairs, with more stairs, worse seasonal temperatures, and greater danger. During the 1st century CE, Rome experienced significant upheavals. In 64 CE, under Emperor Nero's reign, the Great Fire of Rome erupted. This catastrophe spread for days and necessitating the rebuilding and rethinking of city sections. A few years later, after the death of Nero, another political crisis emerged. A power struggle culminated in Vespasian's rise and the start of the Flavian dynasty. Despite its harshness, Rome often functioned as a well-oiled social machine. The public but hygiene, leisure, business, and social relations. In the 2nd century, Trajan's baths Trajan were completed in 109 CE. Here lies a significant paradox. Even if you lived in a small place for a few coins, or thanks to prestige policies, you could access enormous public infrastructure built to impress. Obsession with status was also reflected in clothing. One had to look Roman, a clean toga and a decent tunic. In such a sweaty, crowded city, an entire cleaning industry thus existed. The fullers used alkaline agents and urine for its ammonia as part of their washing processes and bleaching. In 79 CE, an event occurred outside Rome. Mount Vesuvius erupted, instantaneously burying Pompeii and Herculaneum. The cities were instantly preserved like a time capsule. Being buried, they maintained daily life details, which in Rome were often lost due to centuries of. Now back to Rome. The structure that remains iconic to this day emerged, the Colosseum. Construction began under Vespasian around 70 to 72 CE and was inaugurated by Titus in 80 CE. What was impressive was that it wasn't just an arena. It was an engineering marvel. It featured numbered entrances, corridors to manage crowds of thousands in minutes. Below, the backstage included lifts, trapdoors, and passages so that the show seemed magical. But what's more impactful isn't just the structure, it's the site itself. They built it precisely where Nero previously constructed part of his private complex, the Domus Aurea, with gardens and even an artificial lake. Nero lost support, was declared a public enemy, and died in 68 CE. The Flavians seized that exact space to send a crystal-clear message. Where it once signified, "This is for one," it now proclaimed, "This is for everyone." By the 2nd century CE, Rome entered its finest phase of calm and prosperity within the Pax Romana, ruled by emperors like Nerva, Trajan, Hadrian, Antoninus Pius, and Marcus Aurelius, the famed 5 good emperors. Trajan left a massive legacy. His column completed in 113 CE, which essentially said, "We don't just win wars, we tell their story nobody forgets." Hadrian then arrived and shifted the focus, less on conquest, more on organizing the empire and constructing enduring structures. During his era, the Pantheon was rebuilt as we see it today, between 118 and 128 CE. The Temple of Venus and Roma also commenced, with construction starting in 121, inaugurated around 141. Furthermore, Hadrian took border defense seriously. In Britannia, he initiated the wall. Hadrian's establishment in 122 AD marked Rome's limit. Subsequently, Antoninus Pius, governing from 138 to 161 AD, saw the empire enjoy a rather peaceful period. Stability, managing affairs well, and preserving existing possessions, rather than pursuing new conquests. Then came Marcus Aurelius in 161 AD. Many remember him as the philosopher emperor, but his reign was far from tranquil. Initially, he shared authority with Lucius Verus and had to contend with significant issues. A widespread epidemic known as the Antonine Plague, which afflicted the empire from the mid-160s. Here's a crucial detail. In 177 AD, Marcus Aurelius appointed Commodus as co-emperor. This act altered the 2nd century's unwritten rule, because until then, many emperors typically chose successors through adoption, picking the most capable. That power would transfer to his direct family line. What's intriguing is this. Amidst all that turmoil, Marcus Aurelius authored Meditations, which was not meant for publication, but rather personal notes for his self-discipline. Over time, when Marcus Aurelius passed away in 180 AD, many regarded it as the symbolic conclusion of the Pax Romana's most robust phase. And even though Rome continued into the 2nd century with Commodus, who ruled between 180 and 192, the atmosphere shifted noticeably. Power grew more unstable, political life became harsher. Of the 2nd century, in fact, arrived not with calm, but with utter collapse. Commodus was assassinated in 192 AD, and in 193 the empire plunged into a succession crisis famously termed the Year of the Five Emperors. Rome remained enormous, but it no longer felt indestructible. I'm Max. Thanks for journeying with me to the past. What city, site, or historical period would you like to see reconstructed?